Welcome to the NC Spin After Spin. Additional comments from our panelists just available on our website. I want to ask each of you, what do you wish you had said on last week's show, but you didn't? Chris Fitzsimon, I'll start with you.
Well, we talked about what I think is a controversy about local elections boards making decisions about how to do early voting, where to locate the early voting sites. It's going to have a big effect on some of these elections. What's interesting, we didn't talk too much about the State Board of Elections in two-thirds of these counties, or a third of these counties that have contested plans where the Democrat usually voted against the plan adopted by the two Republicans. The State Board of Elections is going to have the final say. The State Board of Elections is a job you don't think much about until there's an election. This is actually going to be a big deal. I think it'll be one of the most controversial and well-attended State Board of Elections meetings we've had in a long time.
And no date set on when that's going to happen?
But it'll have to be soon.
All right, Cash, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
I am really appalled by how much the state has spent on private law firms to contest things like redistricting, voter ID, et cetera, et cetera.
Some $9 million.
Well, I originally read it was 9.5.
Okay.
It's probably up to 10 now after we sent a whole truckload of folks to Washington to try to get the Supreme Court to see things their way. And you know, you have to ask yourself, what do we have to show for it? $10 million in state money, what do we have to show for it when you keep losing all of these battles that you didn't have to have in the first place? And all these battles really were about power and nothing less. So, if that's not something now that weighs against the governor and the Republican legislature as we head into election year, I don't know what does.
Yeah. All right, Becky, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
When we were talking about the early voting, the election law, and those kind of things, all of these lawsuits that we have at the federal level. The way that the system is set up is that under the United States Constitution, the Constitution puts the responsibility for actually holding the elections on the states. And with these lawsuits and these decisions with the United States Supreme Court, other states joining cases, all this, it just seems to me that there is a danger of it becoming federalized, and that ability for states to conduct their elections in the way that they want to, that suits their electorate the best way, is at risk of being taken away from us.
Interesting. John, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
We talked about the state treasurer's race in the context of pension funds. Do we spend enough or too much on fees related to the rates of return? I think the state treasurer's race this year is probably the most competitive of those races we've had in, I don't know, recent memory, yes, recent North Carolina history. And what's interesting about it is it's an open seat, and lots of people are interested in it because, as we mentioned, hundreds of thousands of people are directly affected, either because they are pensioners or hope to be state employee or teacher pensioners in the future, but also because of the state employee health plan, which is now run by the state treasurer's office. It used to be somewhere else. That's a bit of a headache for any state treasurer, current or future, but a big part of the story going forward will be the collapse of the Affordable Care Act exchanges, how that interacts with not only public programs, but state employee health plans in North Carolina and elsewhere.
Well, thank you for watching the After Spin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.